show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's September 3rd, 2021. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And Matt, the news of the day is we're one day closer to kickoff on Saturday. And I swear to God, man, I don't think I've spoken about a single game as much as I've spoken about this one in, probably 20 years? I mean, it is insane how much interest there is in this game, how much excitement there is in this game. And I think it's great. I think it's exactly what Miami needs. It's exactly what Miami wants. And now we're at the point where Miami just needs to go up to Atlanta and represent itself well, be competitive, put on a good show, and play a good football game, and then let the chips fall where they may. And if you have a chance to win in the fourth quarter, that's obviously phenomenal. But I think Miami can win here without even winning. And I can't believe I'm saying that. I may have said that before, but I'm like stunned that I feel that way. But to me, this, Matt, is about going up there and competing and just being a representative top 15 football team.
Yeah, you're right, but it's a sad state of affairs because, this is the exact thing that Miami fans refuse to say for 20, 30 years. I mean, they would never say, just try to make it respectable. That's ridiculous for Miami.
But I agree. But you know what? These are different times. I mean, that's
what I'm saying. It's a sad
the program hasn't been respectable. I mean, they can only come from the viewpoint of where they are. And right now they have not been respectable in these games. And you can either chicken out and not play them, or you can keep scheduling them and try to come back better the next time. And I think that's where they are for this game. Try to come back better the next time. And this is a great opportunity for them to do so on a very big stage.
Yeah, I just hope Miami fans have sort of reset. There was a period of time, probably about a decade, where it just felt like when Miami lost a game and then maybe even a second game, fans just lost total interest in the program. Because it was always, national championship or bust. And, I'm hoping fans have sort of reset to the point that they're not freaking out if this is an ugly game. Miami's not a national championship team yet. I mean, they're just not top to bottom roster-wise. Maybe they can beat Alabama. It can happen. Anybody can beat anybody. I mean, you've seen crazy upsets all the time, especially in season opener sometimes. But top to bottom of the roster, even if Miami wins, this is just, it's not. I've seen national championship teams at Miami. I've seen national championship teams that are in other places. The ones at Miami, obviously, I've seen up close. This is not a national championship roster. It just isn't. I'm not going to lie to people and say, oh, yeah, they can win the national championship this year. It's not that kind of a roster. It's a building block year. And that gets back to what you said. Like, respectable is okay because this isn't the year they're winning the national championship. But have a good game here, get some more top recruits the next class. Really, I think it's 2 classes away. And they can be where Alabama and Clemson have been. That's the goal to me. The goal isn't beat Alabama and we're back. Because, I've seen them practice. I've seen what's going on. I've seen what the kids look like. They're not there yet, but they can be. And that's the ray of hope that Miami fans have to cling to, regardless of how ugly it is or not ugly it is on Saturday. I'm not going to put a lot of stock in necessarily what happens in this game versus what's going to happen over the next 2 to 3 years and even the rest of the season. Win or lose, look bad or look good. Because it's just so, there's such a dichotomy between how Miami can play one week to the next. And we've seen that over the last long number of years, too many years that I want to admit that I've covered the team.
Well, there's an enormous amount of buzz over Will Anderson, the outside linebacker pass rusher for Alabama, and how great he is, and the matchup, the nightmares that Miami is potentially going to have with him. But I'm not totally convinced that the player on the field Saturday with the greatest ability to impact that football game as an individual is not De'Ara King. I mean, De'Ara King at this point is Miami football. I mean, he is the face of that team. He is the leader of that team. And this is his moment. This is his time. Same thing for Rhett Lashley, the offensive coordinator. I mean, this is what he came to Miami for. He came here for this stage that he's going to have on Saturday. He had 9 months to prepare. He's got a veteran quarterback, second year in his system, that should have a total understanding of everything he wants to try to get done. They've got players coming back that have been in the system. The Miami offense is positioned to make some noise in this game and keep this football team in the game. The onus is on them. The onus is not on the defense. Nobody's harboring illusions of greatness on defense. The defense is going to be overmatched. Alabama is probably going to steamroll them at times. But I expect Manny Diaz to take a lot of chances, do a lot of stunting, a lot of blitzing, anything he can do to disrupt individual drives that would extend the Miami's chance of being in this football game in the fourth quarter. And it'll go back to King. Can King make enough plays? Can they put up enough points to allow that to happen? So, we'll see what happens there. But I think King is in an incredible position here because nobody expects Miami to win, and he can only win by playing the game of his life and keeping Miami in it all the way down into the fourth quarter. All right. So talking about the news of the day today on CaneSport.com, it starts with our Countdown to Kickoff show. And this is an extra special good one. We sat down with Tony Tsoukalis from BamaInsider.com. The guy is a gem, man. I mean, he's a young guy, but he just does a killer job covering that Alabama program. And you'll see when you watch that segment and we go through the different matchups and things, just what he brings to the table as a guest for us on Countdown to Kickoff. And so I urge everybody to make the time to watch that. We've been doing a lot of shows lately, so now's a good time for me to tell you that we have reached the deal, and all of our shows are now going to be available on Amazon Music in podcast form. Those of you that have Alexa in your house, you can ask Alexa to play CaneSport Live podcast. You can ask Alexa to play the Good Morning CaneSport podcast when you get up in the morning. All those things. Tell the wife that you need one of those Echo Dots for your bathroom, so while you're shaving, you can listen to Good Morning CaneSport. But yeah, we're on Alexa now. All of our shows, the Lamar Thomas Show. And by the way, if you didn't get a chance to watch it yet, don't put it on your back burner. The show was absolutely epic last night. A couple technical things here and there. We would have liked for George Teague to speak a little louder, and Lamar had a few internet problems at the beginning. But for 2 hours and 20 minutes, I'm telling you, this was epic watching, epic listening. You had Lamar, you had Gino Torretta show up with George Teague, and then Melvin Bratton capped off the night, and boy, was he in rare Melvin Bratton form, telling stories about how he used to get hired to go to bar mitzvahs when he was playing for Miami in the under-the-table silent NIL deals back then. I mean, we joked around about how much money guys like him and Alonzo and Michael Irvin and those guys would have made had NIL been in effect back then. But a lot of really good stuff going on at CaneSport.com. We thank you guys so much for being with us. And I just urge you, take advantage of all of it. The content this week has been off the chain. And just try to take it all in. I think you'll enjoy it. And the Countdown to Kickoff show today and the Lamar Thomas show from the day, from Wednesday night, I think are two things that you definitely don't want to miss. All right, so Tony Tsoukalis takes us inside Alabama's team, gives us really good insight, and it'll get you ready for game day, no doubt. We also have what we call The Edge, Miami versus Alabama, where we break the game down position by position. And Matt, that was an interesting exercise because when you start going position by position, you really start to get a feel for the monumental challenge that Miami's going to have in Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think, look, on defense, I don't think Miami matches up with the Alabama defense, but the offense is, Miami's got a really, really high ceiling for what this offense can do. I would think anything less than 400, even 50 total yards and 30 points against Alabama, I think that can be, I certainly think they can do that, So that's pretty good against what many think will be a top defense in the country. But yeah, you see the defensive discrepancies between the two programs. And, it's great that Manny Diaz is the coordinator again, but, he's going to take a lot of chances, which he always does. Alabama knows that. A lot of blitzes, a lot of one-on-one coverage. And you have to think if you're Nick Saban, he probably thinks that he likes his chances for some of his receivers down the field one-on-one against some of these cornerbacks, especially DJ Ivy's had struggled this fall even looking back for the ball on deep passes. They notice everything on this Alabama staff. So there's going to be some risks that Manny takes. We're going to see if they pay off or not. If they all pay off, then Miami will be in the game. If they don't pay off, Alabama's going to probably score a lot of points. That's how it's always been with Manny. It's sort of, you take the chance and you live or die by the blitz, and we'll see how it works out.
Well, here's a caution sign for that. And I agree with everything you said. But remember, before Manny Diaz came to Miami, he was in the SEC and spent years at Mississippi State. And Alabama's got scouting reports on Manny Diaz play calling going back, well over a decade probably. So they have a feel for how Manny likes to call a game, and I don't think that Manny's going to be able to just totally reinvent the wheel tomorrow. I think he's going to take more chances, no doubt. He has to. I can't even begin to imagine he's just going to sit there and play base defense and wait to get pounded by those guys. He's going to try to be disruptive, and he's going to try to get in Bryce Young's head. And but like you said, they know that. Bill O'Brien, Nick Saban, they understand that. And they know how Manny likes to go about doing it. So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be a little bit of a chess game. I can't wait to watch it. I'm so excited for this game. I really am. I love games like this. I love the stage. I love the excitement. And I'll love it if Miami can compete and be competitive. If not, I think it's going to, I think people will keep it in perspective, because I don't think all the fans out there are expecting the Canes to win this game. But if they're not competitive and they get blown out, I think people are going to be a little miserable. The season's going to have not just begun, and people are going to feel, here we go again. But if Miami can play well, I think that that it'll create some optimism for the rest of the schedule. All right, so we got that edge breaking down position by position. Matt, a story that you did that I thought was just spectacular, and is the story with Earl Sr. and talking about the recruitment of Earl Jr. and how they are going up. The family is flying up to Atlanta for the Miami-Alabama game, probably largely because Earl Jr. is seriously considering Alabama, and Earl Sr. readily admits that Miami's still a long shot right now. But T-Rob and DVD are still very much fighting that out. They're talking to the Littles constantly, and the Littles are going up there to root for both teams. I mean, Earl Sr. was a Miami player. He'll probably be wearing Miami gear to the game more than likely. I'm not sure what Earl Jr. will wear. We don't know that, but I feel safe to say Earl Sr. will be there as a Miami fan. And it's interesting that they're going, and it's interesting that he was as open as he was when he spoke to you.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that I covered Earl when I was a young lad coming out of college. He was playing for the Hurricanes, so we go back a long way. I really like Earl, both Earls. But regarding Earl Sr., it was interesting. We talked, for close to an hour, and I put this, some of the good stuff in there. But Earl Sr. is a little disappointed. He would have loved to see his son be a Miami Hurricane, but as he just flat out says, it just doesn't really look like it's going to happen. It's a major long shot. Point blank, Miami just, talking to Earl Sr., Miami basically dropped the ball a bit with Earl Jr. at various points of his recruitment. When other head coaches were just all over him all the time, Miami wasn't always all over him all the time. It was just like, that's just sort of not the way Miami's been recruiting some of these kids. And, Earl Jr., it is what it is, I guess. But, this is one of these top kids that just keeps getting away, and especially at American Heritage. You would love to have a kid like Earl, or even a Marvin Jones, who's not going to wind up here either, wind up at Miami. I mean, if they had gotten these American Heritage kids from the beginning, from maybe when Mike Rumpf left the program, we're getting all those top kids from then, do you know where this program would be right now? It's just such a shame that it's come to this, because I do think in their heart of hearts, a lot of these kids want to play at Miami, but they all have their reasons why they don't want to come to college here. And if Miami could just convince them of that one reason why they should stay here, for whatever reason, they haven't been able to find that one little button to push with each of these kids. Here's why you stay home. And they've got, Manny's got to find that button to push, because you can't just, this year it's going all over the country. That's just not a long-term recipe for success for Miami recruiting.
Well, you and I don't 100% agree on that. I feel it's important to be able to do both, obviously.
Yeah, you have to do both. I'm saying long-term success still got to be 70% or higher from Dade, Broward, Palm Beach every single cycle.
Yeah, and then be able to supplement.
There's always talent here, so.
Yeah. But I think that Earl Little recruitment just got off on a bad note. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Earl Sr. tried to get a job on Manny's staff and felt like he was very disrespected. It's one thing that Manny's not great at is communications with people sometimes. And I'm sure he didn't intend to disrespect Earl Sr. But Earl Sr. felt disrespected, and that didn't help get the recruitment of Earl Sr.'s son off to the greatest start in the world. In fact, it got off to a really bad start. And T-Rob has come in and had to try to repair that, and DVD has had to try to repair that, and they're trying really hard. They're working as hard as they can at it. Heck, we were at the barbecue on June 1st, and we saw Earl Sr. pull up into the parking lot, and immediately T-Rob and DVD were over there with him, yucking it up and trying to build that relationships and stuff. So they're trying, and they have tried, but they've just had a lot to overcome there. And when a kid's being recruited by Nick Saban and some of the other schools around the country that are recruiting them, and the head coaches constantly hitting them and stuff like that, that's tough, man. That's tough to overcome if the kid doesn't have a predisposed idea that he wants to go to Miami. But all in all, I thought the whole story was very interesting, and a lot of things that I think people will enjoy reading and absorbing that were said by Earl Sr. in that story. All right, another recruiting story this morning. Offensive lineman Tapuve Amama.
Snoop.
Yeah, you tell me. Yeah, I can't. I always butcher that. I can't even begin to not butcher that name. But you know who we're talking about, the offensive lineman from Utah. And, he's still very much in the picture with Miami. And he updates us on all of that. And he's planning on visiting Coral Gables on an official visit later this year, probably in November, possibly as signing day approaches in December. And then we'll see where Miami stands with him at that point. And then another story this morning, Rivals has gone through the exercise of ranking the states in recruiting. Yesterday, they declared number 2, which is Florida. And we posted that story on the website. And then today, they're going to unveil number 1. And I'm going to let the cat out of the bag right now. And that's going to be Texas. And I really wonder about that, Matt. Texas is a great state for talent. I'm not totally convinced that Texas has more talent than Miami. I think that maybe Texas is a little bit heavy in the Rivals recruiting rankings right now. Florida may be a little light, and I think that's something that during the course of the season I wouldn't be surprised to see correct itself. But I guess any way you slice and dice it, number 1, number 2, Texas, Florida, Texas. Both states are producing a lot of college talent.
Yeah, look, I always tell people who ask me about the star stuff, I really don't pay that much attention to it and who has more 4 stars and 5 stars in which state. It
is very subjective.
Yeah, and to me, what really matters is, are there enough good players in South Florida? I don't even care about the rest of the state. Yeah, get a kid here or there, maybe from Jacksonville once in a while, or up north in the state, but you got to have South Florida have top talent year after year. And I think if they rank, South Florida versus South Texas or pick some area of Texas, it's just hard to say that South Florida per square mile per top recruit isn't the top of the country. And that's all that matters to me. I don't care about the rest of the state that's, Florida State territory or Florida territory. I care about the Miami territory. And I think that's probably the most fertile recruiting ground. So, we'll tell our buddies up at Rivals.com to start ranking them next time by smaller zip codes.
All right, well, that's going to do it for today, Matt. I got to head out to the airport, heading up to Atlanta. I haven't decided whether to go by that All Canes party tonight. I'm hearing it's going to be like 500, 600, 700 people in one place, and sounds like a little bit of a COVID convention to me. I may not make it there, but looking forward to the game on Saturday. And those of you that do go to the party and enjoy yourself in Atlanta, if you're going to the game, enjoy it. Don't let yourself become miserable either way. We'll all hope together that the Canes go to Atlanta and are competitive and put forth a good workmanlike competitive effort. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We thank you for joining us once again on Good Morning CaneSport. We won't have a show tomorrow morning. We'll be getting ready for kickoff, but enjoy the game. After the game, we'll have tons of coverage for you, and then we'll pick everything up again going into next week. So until next time, I'll say have a great day and goodbye, everybody.